Walmart was alive with its usual late-night bustle. Families restocking their kitchens, college students hunting for cheap snacks, and insomniacs wandering aimlessly under the unforgiving fluorescent lights. In the midst of all this, Anna, a tired cashier working the graveyard shift, scanned an endless procession of items with numb fingers. She barely noticed the customers anymore, her mind on autopilot as she dreamed of getting home to her cramped apartment. It was nearing midnight when she felt it, a strange shift in the air, like a sudden drop in pressure. She glanced up from the register, her eyes narrowing as a figure approached her lane. At first, she thought it was just another customer, but something about him made her stomach twist with unease. The man was tall, with unnaturally red skin that seemed to glisten under the store's harsh lights. His features were sharp, almost too sharp, as if they had been carved from stone. A pair of small curling horns protruded from his forehead, and his eyes were the most unsettling part, were a bright fiery orange, glowing with a malevolent light that made Anna want to look away. He wore a dark trench coat that swayed with each step, and as he reached the counter, he placed a single item on the conveyor belt, a bag of marshmallows. It was such an absurd choice for such a menacing figure that Anna almost laughed, but the sound died in her throat as he looked directly at her, a slow, sinister smile creeping across his face. "Evening," he said in a voice that was deep and resonant, like the rumble of distant thunder. Anna swallowed hard, her heart pounding in her chest. She forced herself to stay calm, to act like everything was normal. This was just a guy in a costume, she told herself. Maybe some kind of prank. Halloween was only a couple of months away after all. "Good evening," she replied, her voice only slightly shaky. She picked up the bag of marshmallows, scanning it quickly before placing it in a plastic bag. "That'll be $2.49. The red-skinned man, or devil, as Anna couldn't help but think of him, reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a crumpled $5 bill. He handed it to her with long, clawed fingers, his eyes never leaving hers. As their hands brushed, Anna felt an icy chill run up her arm, and she had to suppress a shiver. She quickly handed him his change, eager to get him out of her line. "Thank you. Have a nice night," she said, forcing a polite smile. The devil tilted his head slightly, his smile widening. "Oh, I will," he said softly, his voice dripping with dark amusement. "And you too, Anna." Anna's smile faltered. How did he know her name? She glanced down at her name tag, realizing that it was displayed plainly on her chest. Of course he just read it, she told herself. Nothing to worry about. But as the devil turned and walked away, disappearing down one of the aisles, the uneasy feeling in her gut remained. She tried to shake it off, turning her attention back to the next customer, but her mind kept wandering back to the strange man with the red skin and glowing eyes. The rest of her shift passed uneventfully, but the encounter lingered in the back of her mind like a dark cloud. When it was finally time for her to clock out, she was more than ready to leave the store behind. She grabbed her jacket and bag from her locker and made her way out to the parking lot, her footsteps echoing in the stillness of the night. The parking lot was mostly empty, save for a few scattered cars and the flickering glow of the streetlights. Anna hurried to her old sedan, her keys clutched tightly in her hand. As she approached the car, she glanced around nervously, half expecting to see the red devil lurking in the shadows, but there was no one there. The parking lot was silent, and the only movement was the faint rustling of the wind through the nearby trees. Anna let out a sigh of relief as she unlocked her car and slid into the driver's seat. She started the engine and pulled out of the parking lot, trying to put the strange encounter behind her. It was just some guy playing a prank, she told herself again, just some weirdo trying to scare people. But as she drove down the dark, empty roads, that uneasy feeling refused to leave her. She kept glancing in the rearview mirror, half expecting to see the glowing eyes of the devil staring back at her. But there was nothing, just the empty road behind her stretching out into the night. When she finally reached her apartment, Anna was exhausted, both physically and mentally. She parked her car and made her way up to her second-floor unit, her footsteps heavy on the stairs. All she wanted to do was collapse into bed and forget about everything, but as she unlocked her apartment door and stepped inside, she froze. Sitting on her couch, legs crossed and a bag of marshmallows in hand, was the Red Devil. "Welcome home, Anna," he said with a grin, popping a marshmallow into his mouth. Anna's breath caught in her throat, her heart pounding in her chest. How did you get in here?" she stammered, backing toward the door. The devil chuckled, his fiery eyes gleaming in the dim light of the apartment. "Oh, I have my ways," he said casually, as if breaking into someone's home was the most natural thing in the world. Anna's mind raced as she tried to figure out what to do. She could run, but where would she go? And even if she did manage to escape, who would believe her? She was trapped. "What do you want?" she asked, her voice shaking. The devil stood up from the couch, towering over her as he slowly approached. "What I want, Anna, is quite simple," he said, his voice low and menacing. "I want you to fulfill your end of the bargain." "Bargain?" Anna whispered, her mind spinning. "What bargain? I didn't make any bargain with you." The devil's smile widened, revealing sharp, gleaming teeth. "Oh, but you did. Years ago. You don't remember, do you?" Anna shook her head, fear gripping her chest. "No, I didn't." "Ah, but you did," the devil interrupted, his voice dripping with amusement. "You were just a child then. So desperate for something, so willing to trade anything for it. And I was happy to oblige." Memories flooded Anna's mind, memories of a desperate wish she had made as a little girl, wishing for her mother to recover from a terrible illness. She had whispered that wish into the night, begging for someone, anyone, to hear her. And someone had. "You," she whispered, the realization hitting her like a punch to the gut. "You granted my wish." The devil nodded, his fiery eyes gleaming with satisfaction. "Yes, and now it's time for you to fulfill your part of the deal." Anna's heart raced as she backed away, her mind scrambling for a way out. "What do you want from me?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. The devil smiled, his sharp teeth gleaming in the dim light. "Your soul, of course," he purred, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. Anna's blood ran cold. "No," she whispered, shaking her head. "No, you can't have it." The devil chuckled darkly, his eyes glowing brighter. "Oh, but I can, Anna. You made a deal, and now it's time to pay up." Anna's mind raced as she tried to think of a way out, but she knew there was no escaping him. Not now. Not ever. With a deep breath, she looked up at the devil, her voice trembling as she spoke. "All right," she said. "Let's make another deal." The devil's smile widened, his fiery eyes gleaming with amusement. "Oh, I do love a good bargain," he purred. "What do you have in mind?" And as their negotiation began, Anna knew that no matter what, she had already lost.